Here are my 3 versions of the Brodix Dragon Slayers. They're all CNC ported, but they're each a little different. So this first one, and this one actually is available. I've got one set that's going to be available right now. So all I have to do really is to finish it out. I still have to do the valve job and stuff, but pretty much finished it out. But anyway, this one is, it's standard valve spacing. It takes your standard rocker. You don't have to run a shaft rocker at all. It's got a 2125 intake valve and 1575 exhaust valve. Standard valve spacing. It's a 1207 intake gasket. It's 253 cc's. Actually, I think this one's actually 250, sorry. 250 cc's. The push rod pinch, which still, even with the stud mount rocker, is pretty good, at 2.69. This one, as you can tell, it's got that little bump there to help clear things. So it looks better on the CNC. Sometimes it always clean up. You can see it right there. Anyway, what does it flow? Well, it flows this. This is on a 4155 bore. This is on the Sanes bench. This one, the more conservative one. It moves a lot of air, as you could tell. You could pause for a sec, but 336 at peak. It does 331 at 7. It's pretty good. And it does 252 on the exhaust. This without exhaust pipe. So even with the small exhaust valve, it does fine. On the Superflow, it does that, 345. So yeah, it looks really good on the Superflow. I just don't, the numbers I published are this. Remember, my flow numbers are guaranteed. I guarantee my flow numbers. Many don't. And the ones I guarantee are this, but I give you both just so you have it for your records. Now, this one's probably the awesome piece. It's 70 cc chamber. I can mill them down to 67. Can't go any further. It messes up flow, and I just don't want to sell them that way. Again, this head is not finished, but that's how they come. Really great head if you're just like, I don't want to buy shaft rockers. This is it. Now, if you want to buy shaft rockers, though, and then we have this one. This is the standard. So pretty much, it's the same port with just a little bit more cross section. This one requires a shaft rocker, but I can make it bigger, but this one requires only the Jesel Sportsman shaft rocker setup that has a 300 offset. So this one has a pinch that's 2.74, and I can actually go larger. So if someone wanted to go larger, then I just have to get you a T&D rocker setup. So the Jesel Sportsman shaft rockers, I think they're like 1,600 bucks. But if you wanted more cross section, I can get up to like 2.86. Then I have to do a T&D rocker. As they are, this one's like 2.73. Same chamber size, 70 cc, still same valve size, 2125, 1575 exhaust valve, standard valve spacing. It's a pretty much identical head except for the pinch, and it requires shaft rockers. Does it affect flow? A little bit. This is what it does on the signs. So it does move more air, because now it's doing 338 at 7. These do vary, and you're like, how can that be? Because of CNC porting. It's because of where this sounds stupid, but that guide location, you would think because they did it in the CNC machine, it's exactly correct and everything. Not really. Sometimes they scoot over a little bit. Sometimes they got a little bit of caint, not much, but enough to make the numbers a little different. But it does really well at 339. On the Superflow, it's much better. It goes almost 350. So it's much better, especially at the lower lifts. So it's a pretty good head. Exhaust flow is about the same. Now, there are options for this too. Both of these right here have 11/32 valve stems, but if you were to want 5/16 intake valves, I can do that. It does cost more. There's also this option. So this set of Dragon Slayers, these standard ones right here, they actually have the stall pattern that's put into it. So this set will be available for sale. So no one's bought this, it's just to keep on shelf. So this one will be available. It costs more because of the stall pattern. Highly recommended if you're a small block Chevy guy. Much easier for bigger tubes to have that. And you don't have to worry about adapters too. Now, to the third head, this one. This one's very special. What's the difference between these two? This one's not standard valve spacing. This is 40-60 spacing, which means the intake valve is moved over 40 thousandths away from the wall, and the exhaust valve's moved 60 thousandths toward the bore wall. Anyway, these are 255 cc's, so they're a little bit bigger. These I have not mocked up, but I'm 99% certain you do not need a shaft rocker, because the way I designed it when I first did it, with a 250 offset and a 3/8 push rod, it clears. If you do a 5/16 and a stud mount, you should be fine. Here's the kicker. These have a much larger pinch, because when you move the valve, you move the rocker stud location, which means these, with just like they are, which I'm fairly certain, like I said, I think I'm going to use stud mount, and I will confirm it before I sell them. And this set, by the way, is available as well. No customers got them claimed. They'll 2.8 on the pinch without a shaft rocker. Obviously, I can go bigger with a shaft rocker. I can make it as large as I want. These have a different chamber design. So this is a totally different chamber that I did from the standard one, because obviously with the move spacing and whatnot. But anyway, this chamber, you could tell it's smaller, because when I did this one, it was 70 cc when I got done. I milled it to 67. I really wanted a smaller chamber. This one ended up being smaller at 67. It can be milled to 64. It's a 2-125 intake valve, 1-600 exhaust valve, sorry. 2-125 intake valve, 1-600 exhaust valve. These are 5/16 stems that are in this particular head. So I've got another set on order that's even more radical, and actually I have titanium valves in stock for this as well. But these are really, really good. So this is it on the flow bench, by the way. It's all finished up. So if someone was wanting to buy this, I'd sell it. They are better. This better. They move more air. This is on the signs. So it's about 10 CFM better. Definitely better at 265 at 4. The exhaust flow is not quite as, the peak is fine. The low lift not as much, because it's closer to the bore wall. And you would think with a bigger exhaust valve it would flow more. No, it doesn't work that way. And this is on the Superflow 354 and the 274 at 400. Yeah, it's a beast. Again, that's 5/16 valves kind of help that though. This one has an option too. I have the brass sleeve in this. So if you were like, I don't want the brass sleeve, I think it'd be better without it, I can leave it out. On these ones, I actually had them CNC around that, so I don't have to put brass tubes in. So that's their bolt hole. But anyway, thought I'd get that out of the way. I know it's 7 minutes worth of stuff, but yeah, these are available for sale. This set's available right now. As soon as the valves show up, I can assemble and put them together. This set I need to finish getting done. The valves are already here. So both are available. This set, I'm gonna first, because this is my first set from the 40/60 ones. I'll tell you right now, I'm cutting a deal on this one. Not a huge deal, because these are all expensive to make. This one, I've almost got a set done, a standard as well. But like I said, you have to run a shaft rocker. But if you have questions, email me. Okay, guys, I'm just going to recap, and I'm actually going to go over this. Actually, this 40/60 Dragon Slayer that I have, I did mock it up to see if a stud mount rocker would work. It will and it won't. Here's what I mean. A regular stud mount rocker that has no offset will not. You're going to be half off the valve. If you have a 150 offset stud mount rocker, which some companies make, I think Comp does, or Scorpion does for sure. But anyway, if you have that, you can run a stud mount rocker. Don't recommend it. Really, the best option is to get the Jessel Sportsman series. They're $1,600, obviously, kind of pricey, but those will work. So you only need a 250 offset to clear. I recommend getting a 300 just so you can run a bigger push rod. I actually have a set of shaft rockers in stock, but they're the Jessel Pro Series for this. And they're also a 1/8-1/7 ratio, so they're kind of up there. Now, as far as valves go, I float it with the titanium valve. So this is a Victory titanium valve that's made for this head. This 5/16 stem, 2-125 intake valve, and this is what you got. Now, the exhaust valve also, this is a 1/600 and is a tulip design. However, I said this first set I'm going to sell cheap because I've got the steel valves for it. They are Ferrea. They're a 5/16. Now here's the bad part. The exhaust is not going to flow as nearly as well because the only Ferrea 5/16 that they have is this one, and it's a nail head. So peak flow is going to be about the same. The low lift flow is not going to be as good because of this design. Unfortunately, they don't make one that's for that. In future heads, I will not have the exhaust as 5/16, so I can run my regular 11/32 exhaust valve, and it actually flows more because of the design. I do have another one of these in stock, kinda. This is actually how it starts its life. Now this one's the same 40/60 Dragon Slayer that I've talked about, but I had some options done on this. For one, I had them sand the core, so this is a custom casting. It gives me more room for different things. Also, I have the brass seats, or I should say copper alloy. They're not really brass. I know MB knocks them, but they're not killing me when I cut them. And they also work well. These are put in here, and the reason why is because they're supposed to go with these titanium valves, although they're titanium camera on ductile iron because these are coated with CRN. This is how they start life. They also have, instead of the bigger bolt hole here, they have the 3/8 that's through here. So instead of having the sleeve that you see in through there, it will have a small hole when it's through, and it may not even break through because that bolt hole is smaller there, which is a great thing. This one will be available as well. I've got to send it off to get cut with my design on it, and then obviously do all my machine work and put it back together. Have the rockers as well. So this particular set, this one right here that you see in front of me with the titanium or with the steel valves, is available for sale currently. And I'm actually marking it down because it's the first one. It's just not perfect. And I want perfect when I sell heads. This one, it will be absolutely perfect for sure. Now, that's the 4060 one. Just to recap, this one, which is the standard, it's standard valve spacing, does not require stud mount rockers. So you can, shaft rockers. Does not require shaft rockers. You can run stud mount rockers. 2.69 CSA, it flows 330, it's 331 at 700 valve lift. I've got one set in stock, but the only thing is, again, I've got the stall pattern, so you will have to pay a little bit more for that. I have another set that's supposed to be here this week that does not have that pattern that would save you some money. None of these are cheap, but this one, it's great. Just bolt it on. If you think 253 cc's is too big for your engine, nah. Now, if you're 400 and up and you're wanting to make 700 horsepower, this is the head that'll do it. Because so far, I haven't had any customer make less than 700 with these heads. So they're good. Speaking of which, if you already have a set of stock Dragon Slayers, let's say you bought a set of Dragon Slayers from Brodix or me for some, or whatever, wherever you got them, I can put this program on that head. It will flow slightly less than what this one is because I do something different from the factory that doesn't mess me up. But they'll flow really close to what this one does. And it costs you, it's not cheap. The porting run's $1,400, but then you also have to have the valves. So you have to have the 2125 intake valve, and it's a custom exhaust valve because I'm 1575. So all said and done, you're about 1,800 bucks out, which is like, oh man, that's really expensive. Yes, it is, but you end up with a head that flows a lot of air. So if you got a set of Dragon Slayers, it's the way to go. And this could be put in it. Now I can't put in this bigger program. So this is just to recap. This one doesn't require shaft rockers. Great head. Will make 700 horsepower if you put the right stuff in it. Great head. This one just the next step up. It just requires shaft rockers. If you run this Jessel shafts, your CSA bumps up to like 2.74. It does flow slightly more air, but it's about 20 horsepower up on this head versus this one, only because of the size of the pinch. And it can be made larger, but I'd have to run a Jessel or TND, Jessel Pro Series or a TND rocker setup with more offset. And those ones cost about $2,000, so they're way more expensive compared to the Jessel Sportsman. But this one does require, you can run the cheaper shaft rockers. And then you've got my 4060. You got to check with your piston manufacturer. Several piston manufacturers, by the way, work with both. But this is 2.81 CSA with the currently as it is. Jessel Sportsmen are highly recommended. You could do the 150 offset and run it. I just don't recommend it because it's not perfect. But anyway, this one flows more than that. I mean, this one's like almost 350 on the Superflow and 340 something on the Signs. This one's like 338, so it's really close, but not the low lift. This one's got a beat. This one also has a smaller chamber. You probably will have to have a custom piston made for that unless you're running flat tops. On these, which I need to point that out, on the standard Dragon Slayer, these chambers were made using the Brodix Dragon Slayer chamber that was already there and then making it larger. So if you have a piston, chances are 99% chance this chamber will work with just about any piston on the standard head. On the 4060, because I made it smaller, you need to check. It may, but I can't say for sure. This one, 90% certain is going to fit most domes. So that's good news from those. And they require less amount of stuff if you get the one that doesn't require shaft rockers. Anyway, I've actually got them for sale. Like I said, I've got one set of standards I can have together in a week. That's the ones that require shaft rockers. The ones that don't require shaft rockers, I can have them ready probably, like I say, also in a week. And this one currently is ready. All I got to do is assemble. Now, when I sell them, by the way, I sell them with pack 1225 springs, titanium retainers. If they're the 11/32 stuff, it's rev valves. Freya valves are an extra upgrade, except for this set right here. It's a Freya valve anyway because it's 5/16. If you want a 5/16 intake valve, I probably don't have that in stock besides this one here, but I can do that on the next ones that gets made. Anyway, if you have questions about the Dragon Slayers, let me know. These are an excellent opportunity for you guys to make extra horsepower with your 23-degree motor. I mean, they're awesome. They just are. And there's a bunch of other options too. If you want the chamber softened, can do that. Costs more obviously, but can do it for you guys wanting to run nitrous and stuff. I mean, there's so many different options I can do with this as well. I'm only hitting a small bit of it, but the exhaust pattern's one. I mean, there's a bunch of different things. Anyway, If you want to have any more questions, email me at winegardenracing@gmail.com. Thanks for watching this video. These heads support what I do. That's what it's, quite frankly, what it is. So anyway, yeah, great heads, great power. You can look at my online store and see the whole flow sheets besides looking through this video, because I have 2 that's available to purchase right away. It really takes about a week to put them together. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Remember, I do not port cast iron heads. You guys take care.